Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Energizer Podcast. I'm here with Cam Catrabone from Williamsville North High School. Cam, thank you for coming on today, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Yeah, so obviously, kind of give a background to the crowd, a little bit about yourself, the sport you play, and your future plans, and then we can kind of go from there.
My name's Cam Catrabone. I've wrestled since I was young. I'm currently committed to the University of Michigan to wrestle. I'm five-time section champ. This year I won the New York State title, and I'm ranked top 5 in the country right now for my weight class, and yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, so obviously wrestling, interesting sport. Not a lot of kids I feel like kind of talk about it, but it's definitely a cool sport. You got to be pretty strong and athletic. So obviously weight classes. I know a lot of people talking about making weight or cutting weight, stuff like that. I think that would be interesting to kind of know about. So before you go to a tournament or an event, what is your preparation and kind of your regimen throughout that week or weeks? Kind of leading up to that, whether it's you have to make weight or gain weight or cut weight, whatever it may be.
I feel like it's different for everybody. Like some people cut like a lot of weight, but for some people obviously cut more weight than others for like different reasons. Some people try to like they put on a lot of muscle and then they try to cut down and ended up like weakening themselves just by cutting and dehydrating themselves. Like some people cut like not a lot of weight, but they complain and they cry about it because they're not cutting weight properly, or yeah, basically for reasons like that. But for me, during the season, excuse me, um, like for the season, you have to weigh in that morning and then you wrestle or compete an hour after. For instance, for like tournaments like in the off season, which I'm kind of going through right now, you can weigh in the day before, and it's only one weigh in. So say it's like an in season tournament, a 2 day tournament, you weigh in that morning, wrestle. Then for the next day, you still have to weigh in again the next morning. They might give you 1 pound, but it's still more brutal compared to just one weigh in the day before. And then you get to eat, recover as much as you want while you get like a whole 12 hours overnight rather than just 1 hour the same day.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I said, I think it's a really cool topic because obviously I've talked to some kids at my school, but obviously when you're into wrestling, that's huge. Like with the weigh-ins and what times they are. I know people talk about eating after, making sure you're getting enough rest and stuff like that. So kind of diving in then to your college future. You're committed to the University of Michigan. That's obviously a huge accomplishment. Congrats on that. And I know. Did your dad go there?
Yeah, my dad wrestled there.
Okay, so what is going to Michigan University? What does that sentimental value give to you?
It's just like I worked so hard from like once like COVID hit is when I realized how hard I wanted to work towards my future, and that's when I like really set my goals like really really high compared to what it was before, and then just making everything happen is when it. It's hard to. It's I don't think it's committing in general. It's just like I don't really think it has to do with my father. It's just like compared to where I was compared like me now compared to like in eighth grade. It's just like that's what means the most to me, to be honest. But yeah, obviously going to the same school my dad was wrestled at, and he was a 3-time All American. It's just it's exciting.
Yeah. So kind of leading up there, like you said, you're in high school now. Obviously, you're doing off-season tournaments, but what work would you say like has been put into place? Like, what's your training and regimen looking like? You were in season. You've wrestled with North, obviously. So, what is your in-season training looking like?
Oh yeah. Well, obviously I'm not gonna be able to wrestle well with like kids from my school because well it's sometimes it's difficult to for them just to simply like keep up with like the same high level pace and technique. So I wrestle with like my coaches like that are from like around the section. Like my one coach, Kellen Devlin, was a 3-time state champ, wrestled at NC State, and he comes in. He's he was technically a coach at Star Point until everything went down there, and then I was still able to wrestle with him even at uh it's called it was just at my friend's house. He has like a facility in Pendleton, and we'd wrestle there like even during like the snowstorms and when COVID was really bad. But this season mainly, I just trained hard with Kellen, coach. We have a older coach named Coach Shiflett, um, and I wrestle with them, and I wrestle with another coach, Vinny Canzaro, who was a section champ from our school a couple years ago. Wrestled at Mercyhurst, and I'd wrestle with them like day by day. I'd wrestle, sometimes lift afterwards, run in between, but I didn't have to. Thankfully, I didn't have to cut a lot of weight, which makes the season much more of a drag. But during the season, I have tournaments much harder than the state tournament. Like Beast the East. It's like a national level tournament in Delaware, which is in December. I placed third there, and then a tournament called Powerade, which is arguably like one of the hardest tournaments, period. And I lost in overtime in the finals and took second place. And then that's when I can kind of tone down my training, which there's a tournament called the Eastern States Classic, which is it's like a big New York tournament. And I won that tournament, but I injured my knee in the finals, which cost me before the New York States because it was so difficult to train and to wrestle. I almost didn't wrestle at the state tournament. It was so bad, and then we ended up figuring it out. And yeah, I that was the most difficult part about training towards states was dealing with my knee every day and finding like the way to train the best and the best I possibly could without hurting myself even more.
Yeah. So obviously, like, a lot of athletes in high school, injury is one of the most dangerous things to an athletic career. And like you said, you kind of just walk through your mindset talking about it's very very impactful on your training and stuff like that. But kind of diving into your mindset about the injury. What were you telling yourself that was keeping you going? And if you had to tell an athlete who is battling through an injury, like, what would it be to them?
Well, for me, it wasn't. So I was at first when it initially happened, I thought I tore my meniscus because it was like a sharp pain on the inner right side of my knee. So that's when I was super scared, and I got an MRI, I got X-rays, and then it turns out it's all like inflammation and like inner bruising and stuff. But it was like a sharp pain with the fluid, so it was like a shearing from the skin and the muscle tissue, and then in between there was the fluid, which every time it would move, it could it was like a the doctor he compared it to like shearing of the muscle, which is more just like pain than
Mhm.
direct damage,
Yeah.
which made it a lot more comfortable just to like get through the pain. But for other athletes going through injuries, I'd suggest like definitely take care of it. Don't rush to get back and to hurt yourself again because in the long run, it's definitely not worth it.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, it's perfect. You don't want to rush back into it because you have a greater risk of injuring something more, which is definitely not going to help you in the long run. And you talk about these tournaments, these big time tournaments, like that must be awesome to go to. I mean, big turnouts, like obviously very competitive. What is it like in your mind, like when you get in the stadium, like what are you feeling? Are you feeling good vibes? Are you dialed in, or like do you have a certain routine that you like to hit?
Yeah, for me, one thing that I think is different for me compared to other like wrestlers or maybe even athletes in general is just that I like to really have fun while I wrestle. And most people take it super serious. They listen to like their super hype music and like they come in all nervous and stuff. But for me, I'm just like relaxed. Like every tournament I see is like the same. I'm just doing the sport that I've done since I was 5 years old, and I love wrestling. And I mean, I feel like when you can do it and you can enjoy it is when when you really wrestle your best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think honestly, I think that advice should go to everyone. I mean, I feel like nowadays youth sports has become more of a job to kids rather than a fun thing to do. Like I think we all forget the reason why we started the sports because we fell in love with it and we like to play it. And obviously there's different levels of competition you can play at, but I think people just need to realize like it's for fun, and when you're having fun, like you said, you're playing your best, which I think that's great for you. Like that's awesome. You can be loose, be chill, kind of vibe out before you're on the mat. So that's pretty sweet. And kind of going back to the tournaments a little bit. So I've heard a little bit about the Super 32. I think you've attended it a couple times. If you kind of want to just talk about that, I mean, I know it's a pretty competitive tournament. And obviously you've had other achievements, state champ this year, right? And sectionals 5 times, hopefully going on 6 too. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. So if you want to dive into the Super 32 tournament, go ahead.
Yeah, so Super 32 is like anyone who knows wrestling, like to any extent knows that's like the biggest high school tournament or the most or definitely the most difficult folk style tournament. It's in Greensboro in like October, so it's right like before the season. But it's so they only placed top 8 there. My sophomore year, I made it to the round of 16. I lost, came back, avenged that loss and took third place, which was huge, and then I committed to Michigan like 3 days later or something. And then yeah, this year I lost like super early. I had to climb back, win like 8, 9 matches in a row, and take sixth place, which was it's just brutal. It's such a brutal tournament. You have so many matches in such a short period of time. It's like you have to have like wrestled there to like understand how high level and it's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So along with these tournaments, obviously coming to Michigan, just wrestling in general, your whole life, there's got to be some great stories out of this. So I'm gonna turn it over. Obviously, last week we introduced the new segment, story time. So we're gonna dive right into it. Cam, take it away. Whatever story you may feel. You know, if it's a funny one, great. If it's not, no worries. But go ahead.
Oh man. Oh, that's a great. Oh, so many.
Give you a sec. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's hard to say because there's ones in season. I mean, oh my lord. Oh, pulling off the top of my head seems almost impossible.
If you want to do in season, you're more than welcome to. You know?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time.
Um,
While he's thinking, ladies and gents, I'd like to take this time to talk about my brand that's up and coming, Power39 Clothing. So make sure, obviously, I've told you, stay tuned. You know, it's coming pretty soon, I promise. We're getting pretty close to drop. And actually, today we just introduced our women's athletic line, which to me is awesome. It's fabulous. Feels great. It's flexible. It's great to wear. So please give us a look on our Instagrams. Obviously, Cam's Instagram will be in the bio too. But yeah, back to the segment.
I just don't even think I could think of one that's like okay to like say publicly. Honestly, I mean,
all right, you know what? We'll change it into this. So obviously, going to states. What was your favorite moment from states? Like, obviously, winning and stuff is great. But did you have one moment or like part of that time where you were like, man, this is just awesome?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, probably right after I did the shoey, after I won, to be honest, and the amount of people who didn't like it is what made it so like is what made it so much better, to be honest.
So wait, it was a celebration or something? Like,
oh, you didn't see it?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So after I won states, I took my shoe off and I drank out of my shoe, and then ESPN reposted it, Bleacher Report reposted it, Bench Mob. It was like, yeah, it was sweet. And then oh yeah, after I did that, there was a lot of people who didn't like it, and I was getting like parents were like yelling at me, cursing at me, it was actually pretty crazy. Hold on,
yeah,
you might want to see this.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Let's get a live reaction.
Hold on.
That's
I posted
awesome.
this online. Yeah, so like right after I won, because so in wrestling there's D1 and D2, and there's two mats going on at the same time.
Okay.
So I planned it initially, but I knew if I didn't pin him, then so I pinned him. You pin him like the match is over, like sooner. So I knew I had time because the other match was still going on. But yeah, I took my shoe off and.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
wow,
it was pretty wicked.
That's a great celly. I love that. I feel like the celebrations are the best part of sports too. Like I know with hockey, like obviously playing, like you got the heartbreaker, you just get the crowd pumping. But like, you know, this shoe, I love that. That's different and it's sweet. So that's awesome. Well, there you go. I mean, I think that was a pretty good story. You know, something fun, some creative definitely. So, well, you know, I think we've kind of gotten a lot of info out of you, and I appreciate you taking your time to come out and be on the podcast today. And I would just like to take this time to thank you. And if you have any other words of wisdom or any statements you want to leave with the crowd, go ahead.
No, that we basically covered everything. Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.